Total Screen proudly presents their official podcast, On Screen, with your hosts, Tyson Gifford and William Rohrig. Everybody, and welcome to On Screen, the official podcast of the Total Screen. My name is Tyson.
My name is Will.
And today we're going to be talking about Season 2 of Fallout. That is our main story, but we've also got an on-beat segment. We're going to talk about 4 trailers that came out in the last week. Some of them from the Super Bowl, some of them just in general came out. And we've also got our On the Horizon segment, which is where we're going to start.
On the horizon.
On the Horizon is where we talk about what's coming up in the next week or so. Oddly enough, everything on this segment of On the Horizon is all coming out on Friday, February 20th. So, busy day. The only busy day this week, I guess, as far as entertainment goes. But we're going to be starting off with Strip Law. This is a new animated series on Netflix. It's about a lawyer in Vegas and a hedonistic magician who solve crimes together. So it's an animated comedy, but check out the voice cast on this. Adam Scott, Stephen Root, Keith David, Joel McHale.
That's a crazy voice cast.
Yeah.
There's a lot of talent there.
I'm wondering who's playing that hedonistic magician.
Right.
Like, I think Joel McHale would fit well with that. I think he'd have, like, the smart-ass kind of, that, like, it would fit well. Like, I could imagine him kind of playing a version of his character from, like, Community.
It's Stephen Root.
Stephen Root is the hedonistic magician.
Yeah. Doing the voice of his character for Office Space.
Yeah, he's a hedonistic magician who's just really wants his stapler back.
Yeah, he really wants his stapler back, yeah.
Anyways, as with everything on this segment of On the Horizon, that's coming on Friday, February 20th on Netflix. Also on Friday, February 20th, but coming to PC, PS5, and Switch 2 is Ys 10 Proud Nordics. That's Ys as in YS, the famed RPG franchise.
Yeah, so if you didn't know, YS is supposed to be pronounced East.
Yes, and that is coming on Friday, February 20th to PC, PS5, and Switch 2.
People for the longest time kept, trying to pronounce it Wise.
Why would they do that?
Yeah.
Next up, we got How to Make a Killing, which is coming to theaters on Friday, February 20th. Do you remember this? We talked about the trailer for this.
Yeah.
Glenn Powell, where he's trying to kill his rich family.
Yeah, to get their inheritance.
Yeah, he's way down the line to get inheritance, and then somebody plants it in his mind that well, if you kill them all, then you'd get the inheritance. Right. And it's just him killing his family.
Yeah.
That's coming to theaters on Friday, February 20th. And then also coming to theaters on Friday, February 20th is The Dreadful. This is the one with Sophie Turner and Kit Harington. We talked about just recently the trailer for that. It's kind of like a medieval, horror film.
Yeah.
Ghost story or something kind of. I don't know. But that's coming on Friday, February 20th to theaters as well. That is our On the Horizon segment. Now we're going to move on to On Beats. On Beat is our news segment. This week we just got some trailers to go over, and we'll start things off with Reckless, which is Scott Adkins, who's a martial arts guy. He's in a lot of movies, but he's not usually a lead actor. A lot of times he's a stunt double, or he's just a henchman that gets beat up in a scene, or he's one of those guys, like Frank Grillo used to be before Winter Soldier and stuff kind of gave him more prominence. But yeah, Scott Adkins, he's really well respected in that field. He's been in John Wick movies. He's been in a lot of crazy stuff. He's even worked with Jackie Chan. This is kind of the movie that stars him that's coming out. It also has Vinnie Jones. It's kind of organized crime and London and all sorts of other stuff and then martial arts fighting.
It looks like a lot of fun.
Yeah, should be a good time. Next we got, these are where our Super Bowl trailers start. Project Hail Mary. We've talked about this before, but it got a new trailer for the Super Bowl. And we got a lot more time with Rocky, as he's called now, the alien. And it kind of plays more to it. You know what? It's funny. When I first saw the trailer or saw anything about this movie, it wasn't too long after we had done an episode of the podcast where we talked about that Adam Sandler movie on Netflix where he's like in space and encounters an alien. Do you remember that?
Oh, I remember that, yeah.
And I was like, I'm getting kind of similar vibes, but like tonally not at all similar. And this is highlighted even more so here, like how tonally different it is, where that movie is just like really kind of dreary and depressing. And then this one, it's like, it's about basically entire worlds about to end, including ours. But it's like a buddy story with this guy and this alien, and it's their friendship, and it's kind of cute and funny, and it just looks like it's going to be a good time.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Next, we got the Super Bowl trailer for Supergirl. I don't think this is too terribly much different than what we've already seen.
It's not a lot different. They did something cute with this though, which they focused the trailer around crypto.
Yeah.
We got to see how Supergirl gets crypto. They're evacuating Krypton, and like the little puppy Crypto like runs up to her and she picks him up. It's cute. And then we see some other, basically a rehash of scenes from the previous trailer.
Yeah, like the whole comment about Clark sees the good in people, I see the truth. Like they repeat that, and
we don't get a new look at Lobo, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But that's fine. I'm still excited for it. It's interesting. This was the only major studio superhero film slated for this year that got a Super Bowl spot. Marvel declined to order any spots for their upcoming films.
Yeah. Disney did one for Mandalorian and Grogu, but we're not talking about that because it's not even, doesn't even have anything to do with the movie, yeah.
I was actually suggesting we should probably talk about it for like how awful it is. Somebody should to me.
It was basically like a spoof of the Budweiser Clydesdale commercials that they always have.
Yeah, because I remember, because I was talking to a friend and they were like, oh, that Mandalorian trailer was awful for Super Bowl. I was like, I didn't see it. And I was just like, okay, the last trailer for the movie didn't look that bad. Like, I was kind of like confused. I was like, the movie didn't look that bad in the last trailer. Like, how bad could this trailer be? It's a movie trailer. And they said it as like, oh, well, because it's saying a movie trailer. This is, what the hell are they doing? Trailer.
Yeah. They just made a Super Bowl commercial and then themed it around the movie.
Yeah, they took an old Budweiser commercial, which I had completely forgotten about. And it's so funny because the day after Disney had to release a statement about it, or Lucasfilm, which is like, if you have to release a statement explaining your Super Bowl commercial, it was a failure.
Yeah, it was probably not a wise choice.
It leads me to I'm really concerned for this movie because what the hell are they doing with the marketing for this film? It comes out in a couple months and people barely even know it exists.
Well, yeah, because they spent all the money to get a fucking Super Bowl spot, and then they did this.
They did this, yeah. So, I have a bad feeling that this movie is gonna bomb.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. Maybe the power of Baby Yoda might carry it through.
Yep. Hopefully.
And then, lastly, we got a trailer for One Piece Season 2. We'd had a teaser before. This is a full-blown trailer.
This is
over
a full
2 minutes long
season trailer, and it makes sense because season is dropping, I think, March 10th, so very soon.
Yes, just
very
a month away.
Yes. It's about time we got a real full season trailer, and we got to see all the excitement that's coming to us in season 2. Baroque Works is going to be a big part of it. We got more footage of Chopper. Yeah, Chopper and his doctor friend. Yeah, that's going to be a really touching story. And then you have all the Grand Line stuff. Yeah, I'm so psyched. The moment they go into the Grand Line in the anime and in the manga is this super iconic, super moving, really powerful scene. It's really cool. It's they've got one of the greatest senses of exploration and adventure. And I'm really hoping they nail it. It looks like they are from what I've seen from it. It already looks like this epic scene already. So I'm really looking forward to them going into the Grand Line, which will probably be either at the end of episode 1 or in episode 2. Depending on how they pace it out. But yeah, it's exciting. One Piece is getting moving. It's going to be awesome. That's it for our trailers and our On Beat segment, and that leaves only our final segment, Full Spoilers. This week on Full Spoilers, as I mentioned at the top of the show, we're going to be talking about Fallout Season 2. Let's get started. You got some Death Claws. Yeah, Death Claws. I love that. I love seeing the Death Claws in live action for the first time. And they didn't dumb them down or make them like any less of a threat, which is cool.
As somebody who's just not, like, I know about the games, but I've never played them, so I'm just not familiar with all the lore and the characters and stuff like that, or the types that I haven't already seen in the show. It is interesting the way they did the Deathclaws, like the reveals of them were like so dramatic.
Yes.
Like it was like, you have the one scene where Cooper is like, it had like a flashback where he's like in Alaska fighting in the war before he became the Ghoul and stuff. And this dramatic moment in the fear on his face. And then you see when they see him again with Cooper seeing him, he's just got the fear all over his face. He's like, oh my God, what the fuck?
Yeah.
It's kind of interesting they did that. Do you think that they maybe took them out a little too easily at the end?
No, it's interesting because, like, I don't think they did, because the fight does go on, like, longer than I would expected it to. If they dumped it down, if they, like, want him to be, like, a hero. It's interesting because the armor Maximus gets when fighting the Deathclaws is, like, a new armor for the series. I saw Todd Howard talking about it, and Todd basically said for every Fallout game, we introduced a new piece of power armor, and so for the show, they came up with the NCR Deathclaw Killer armor.
Was that Cooper Howard's one from before?
No, Cooper Howard, he had United States military power armor, which is very basic power armor that wasn't, like, very good. Basically what happened is the Brotherhood of Steel, after the war, the Brotherhood of Steel, they found the military documents for the power armor, and they basically improved on those designs. So the Brotherhood of Steel, their power armor is better than the U.S. military had before the bombings.
Mm-hmm. And you saw the post-credit scene, right?
Yeah. It's not a power armor. It is literally a giant robot.
Oh, so it's the drone equivalent of a power armor.
It is literally like
an unmanned power armor, kind of.
Yeah, it's autonomous. It's literally like a Godzilla-sized robot.
It's kaiju-sized. It's huge.
Yes, it's kaiju-sized. It's huge. Which is going to be interesting, to say the least.
Yeah.
Because I don't know how they're going to build that. Because the thing is, they're under siege by the capital chapter of the Brotherhood right now. They're under siege, and it's called Liberty Prime. And the thing about Liberty Prime is it was designed again by the United States government before the bombs dropped. And it was supposed to be the United States government's, like, ultimate weapon against China. They were going to deploy it and just, like, end the war with China, like, right there. Problem is, the U.S. government couldn't deploy it at all because the power needed to, like, for the thing to fully function was just, like, way too much, and they could not figure out, like, how to supply it with the amount of power they needed to.
So it sounds like they're probably going to be, the plot for them in season 3 is going to be them trying to track down again that cold fusion.
Yeah, the cold fusion, yeah. And that's another thing too. When the Brotherhood found the blueprints for Liberty Prime, they also tried building it, and they also ran into the same bottleneck where they couldn't, they spent like 20 years trying to power it on. And then finally they did, and they deployed it against the Enclave, and they were winning, and then the Enclave destroyed it and set them back. So, like, I don't know, like, how this chapter is going to successfully, like, build and deploy one, but
we'll find out in season 3.
Yeah, we'll find out in season 3. But no, I love the season of Fallout. I thought it was great. All the stuff.
We got a lot more with, like, different factions than we did before. Because before we had the Enclave was in season 1. I mean, like, I think the opening scene, right? Or was it the opening scene, or maybe it was the opening scene of episode 2, whatever. The one with Ben Linus, where it showed him with the dog. That's all Enclave stuff.
Yeah, that's Enclave stuff. Yeah, the Enclave are basically the main bad guys of Fallout. They're the ones behind the scenes putting everything into motion.
And then from my non-having experience from the game's perspective, I would say the New California Republic are like the heroes.
New California Republics are like a hero faction, yeah. They're basically like if you play like New Vegas, you have a choice of allying yourself with like the Legion, or with the New California Republic, or with Mr. House.
Okay.
You got like a choice between those three as like factions to ally yourself with. And if you're
Legion just seems like a violent entity that's not necessarily good or bad. They're just there and they're violent.
They're chaotic and they're violent and they're psychopaths. And basically, if you're doing
they're not like scheming big master plans or anything. They're just violent and immoral, I guess, you know.
Well, they have like this whole thing where they think they're the true rulers of the wasteland.
Yeah. They're going to try to create a palace. I love that at the end. A palace. A Kaiser's palace.
In the middle, we're going to march into Vegas and build a palace, a Kaiser's palace.
Yeah. That was funny.
Yeah, that was like a really funny joke. So, like, if you're doing like a villain run, or I guess like a villain run, you're going to side with the Legion. If you're doing a hero run, you want to side with the NCR. If you're doing like chaotic, like run or something, you're going to go with Mr. House.
Mm-hmm. Where he's kind of like about power and control, and he's not necessarily good or evil. Like, there's elements of him being in control that would be good and elements that would be bad.
Right, yeah. His deal is like he has full control, he knows and sees everything, and he thinks that's for the greater good.
Yeah. So those are the New Vegas factions that are kind of coming into play more. Like I said, the House and the Legion, those are new to us in Season 2. California Republic was something we knew about in Season 1.
Oh, yeah. Because
Enclave,
of
like I said,
fans.
We kind of barely knew about the Enclave in Season 1. We kind of vaguely knew about them, but not in any, like, a lot of the story unfolding here has to do with what the Enclave is.
The Enclave, if you hadn't caught on, they're the ones who dropped the bombs in the first place. Yeah. Which is funny because the whole sub-story of Cooper Howard in the past was the whole thing where he was worried about Vault-Tec dropping the bombs, and he was supposed to intercept the cold fusion and keep it out of the hands of Mr. House. And then he gives it to the President of the United States, but what he didn't know is the President of the United States was the leader of the Enclave, or involved in the Enclave.
It's interesting because in the flashbacks, in the last season, we saw the moment where his wife, where Cooper's wife was saying that they'd be the ones to drop the bombs and do it. And it's like, oh my God, she's like the villain, like leading this to do this and stuff. And then here you find out, oh, she was like afraid, like she was basically given a threat. And you see like who gives her the threat, and it's Ben Linus.
Yeah, it's Ben Linus.
Who we knew was in the Enclave in Season 1.
Yeah.
And so that kind of brings it together. It's like, oh, okay, like, and he did it, not because he's the leader of the Enclave or anything, but because he worked for the Enclave and he'd be dead if he didn't do that,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they'd kill him if he didn't do that. So, again, they're manipulating events. You could say, like, Cooper was manipulated into giving the cold fusion directly to them.
Yeah.
And Mr. House, when he's talking to Cooper in the past, he knows the bombs are going to drop, but he also knows, like, the players that you would suspect, Vault-Tec and stuff, aren't the ones to do it. And he says, like, there's somebody else at the table. He doesn't know who he is. At that point, like, he hadn't figured out the Enclave, or he didn't know about the existence of the Enclave.
Yeah, and then they say here, too, is that Enclave is also behind the Deathclaws.
Yes.
So they're kind of behind everything.
Yeah, the Deathclaws are biological weapons that the Enclave created pre-war.
They also seem to be implying that the president from before that time, who's Clancy Brown played in the show, is part of the Enclave.
Yeah, the president was involved in the Enclave. That's why the bombs do drop, because Cooper gives him the cold fusion, thinking that the president of the United States, is going to take it and keep it out of the wrong hands. And at that point, Cooper thinks he saved the world. He saved the world from nuclear Armageddon by giving the cold fusion to the right person, and it turns out he gave it to the wrong person.
It's interesting, like I said, because in Season 1, if we're looking at the factions of Season 1, the main ones were Vault-Tec and the Brotherhood of Steel. The Enclave was like a hint. We just kind of had like the vaguest idea of the Enclave. And the New California Republic was like this thing that seemed to be like, the force for good that was like kind of a distant memory, like there were little traces of it, and that's it.
They were pretty much wiped out, which, came as a shock to me at the time, because I was like, oh, damn. Thought they were doing pretty well at the end of New Vegas, and now they're gone. They nuked Shady Sands, and they're pretty much gone. I knew they had to be addressed in Season 1, because Season 1 of Fallout takes place in California. They're the New California Republic. Obviously, they weren't based in Nevada. They're based out of California, so, yeah.
And so Season 2, like we were saying, introduces the Legion and the House, which we had, no hints of previously. They're, brand new factions. But then it also, kind of ramped up the the story about the Enclave, where it looks like going into season 3, Enclave's going to be a much more ever-present thing, because they were just kind of in the shadows in season 2 mostly.
Oh, yeah.
We got the California Republic, kind of the rebound of the California Republic by the end of season 2. And Brotherhood of Steel is still around, and got to see kind of the makeup of their structure outside of just the kind of vague idea of the Brotherhood.
Oh, yeah. The Brotherhood...
You got to see the politics of the Brotherhood of Steel.
Yeah, they're basically... The Brotherhood of Steel is basically several disconnected chapters formed around various parts of the country. They're all, like, run their own way with essentially, like, the same ideals.
Mm-hmm.
They're different chapters of, like, the same church, you could say, like, spread around. They operate independently, so.
And there seems to be another faction, unless this is tied to something and tied to one of the existing factions, that just got, like, a hint of it in this, which is, like, mutants.
Oh, the super
like, Ron Perlman's character was, like, the one we met from him. We just met him, like, that's, like, one scene, basically.
One scene, which
But he seemed to imply, like, some kind of a fight or something, meaning, like, he represents a group, it's not just him.
Yeah. And we should see more of that next season.
Yeah, I imagine that's like the next faction that kind of comes into play, I guess.
So, like, I kind of want to, like, just go over, basically, like, everybody's storyline to this. Like, basically, Lucy is still searching for her father. Her father, Hank, has run aground in New Vegas, and he's, like, restarting this research project of the Enclaves, which is, by the way, like, Hank was involved with the Enclave. I should say that as well. He was also involved with the Enclave. And this project was basically mind control.
Yeah.
It was basically using technology to take over people's brains and turn them into, like, automatons, and you can imprint your own custom personality onto them.
It's funny that Cooper is fighting against the Enclave, and the biggest representation of the Enclave we have this season is Agent Cooper.
Yeah. Interesting. Yes. So he's working on that. Lucy is looking for him at this point to bring him to justice. It's no longer like, I'm just, like, looking for my dear old dad. It's kind of like, well, she knows he's a bad guy, and she's going to take him back to the vault to face, lawful justice.
Mm-hmm.
Lucy is lawful good. Cooper, the ghoul, he's looking for his family. And he knows where they are. Or at least he thinks he knows where they are. More on that later. And so he's also looking for Hank McClane, because for the reason that Hank McClane has access to the vault where his family is.
Everyone's looking for Hank McClane, but nobody's looking for John McClane, and that's their detriment.
Yeah. And Maximus is just trying to navigate politics in the Brotherhood and ends up inadvertently starting a war with the Brotherhood. He has to, like, peace out from that situation.
He goes from being, like, the new hero representing that group to being, like, the guy on the outside that, you know, fucks everything up for them, basically.
So basically, I should say the whole Brotherhood storyline is Elder Cleric Quintus is basically trying to consolidate power. So he's basically, he wants to unite these various Brotherhood clans to do a strike against the capital Brotherhood, the Commonwealth Brotherhood.
Yeah, it's a scary thought of the Brotherhood of Steel being under the control of Evil Corp.
Yeah, Evil Corp, yeah. Yeah. The Commonwealth Brotherhood, they're the Brotherhood of Steel chapter that's in Washington, D.C., in that area. They're probably, like, the biggest and strongest chapter of the Brotherhood of Steel.
It's funny because we have all of these factions, and almost all of them have, like, a significant guest star representing them.
Yes.
And this time we have Camille Nanjiani.
Camille Nanjiani shows up as a representative of the Commonwealth Brotherhood.
Yes.
Yes. And it's funny because Maximus actually suggests to Quintus that he kill Xander. Camille Nanjiani, that's his character's name, Planet Xander. He suggests he kills him, and Quintus just gets upset.
Like, are you a fucking moron?
Yeah, he's like, are you an idiot? And, he gets upset with Maximus, and he says, like, you're a sword. I don't seek the opinions of swords. Basically, shut your mouth and just do what I say.
Yeah. He's all, the hack is going through. Elliot Anderson is on our side.
Yeah. Stay out of it. And the curious thing happens is Xander introduces himself to Maximus, and he seems like a pretty cool dude, and like they basically become bros for a little bit. Like,
it's a pretty funny scene of them, like,
yeah.
Whenever they have, like, the Brotherhood, they always make them, like, they undercut that intimidating aspect of these power suits by just making them, like, jockish, like, frat bros, you know?
Yeah, they're like, they're frat guys. Yeah, basically. Yeah. Like, all these Brotherhood of Steel Knights are basically like frat bros, you know? Like, yeah.
Like, I love the scene when when it showed like a bunch of the Brotherhood people and they were opening up like the place in Area 51 and they found this like cherry car and it was like looked all nice and stuff and they all, let's get that outside. And then they immediately like just blow it up.
Yeah, let's blow it up. And Xander's like saying all the right things too. He's kind of like, I know like there's probably going to be a war between our chapter and your chapter, but there might be a way to prevent that. We can work together. He's kind of like being really friendly to Maximus, and they're killing robots together.
Big brother frat guy.
Yeah, yeah. Until they get to this bottle cap factory. Yeah, which is actually run by Maximus' former squire, Thaddeus.
Yes.
Funny enough. But he's going on and he's got like all these children harvesting bottle caps for him, and that's a whole thing. But
child labor force.
Child labor force, but half of those children are ghouls themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And so like when Xander like finds these kids and he sees the ghouls, he wants to kill the ghouls.
Mm-hmm.
And Maximus does not want to sit there and watch Xander murder children.
Yeah. He's been exposed to ghouls long enough in the first season to realize that they're conscious, that they're not...
Yeah.
Yeah, they're sentient. They're not just mindless monsters.
Yeah, they're not mindless monsters, yeah. The Brotherhood considers ghouls to be blasphemous, filthy creatures that must be destroyed. Like that's the Brotherhood of Steel's view on ghouls.
And this is what causes the split between the Brotherhood and Maximus.
Yeah, Maximus kills Xander, and I love what he says after Maximus kills Xander. He removes the visor on his helmet and reveals his face, and Thaddeus realizes it's Maximus, and he says, "Oh, wow, so how you been doing?" And Maximus in shock just says, "I think I just started a war." And Thaddeus goes, "Cool, well, like, I'm the manager here, so it sounds like we both have a lot going on."
Yeah.
I love
Johnny Pemberton's a good actor. He's a good comedic actor. I've seen him in stuff. He's been in like small roles in a lot of things before Fallout. He's kind of perfect for this world.
He's kind of perfect for this world. Yeah, he's just totally like, I love from that point on, he's just like tagging along with Maximus again. So you get to see him through the rest of the season, and he's great every time he shows up. And obviously this leads to a big falling out with the Brotherhood, and Maximus is now on the run. And he gets reunited.
For some reason he left his suit behind.
Oh, he left his suit behind because the Brotherhood has trackers in it.
Yeah, but even before that, like he left it behind, like him and Thaddeus in Xander's stolen suit were like running across the desert and he was just like on foot. Why did he leave his suit behind for that? They eventually gave the reason that it's because of the tracker, but that doesn't explain before that. I was like, that's kind of weird, but they're heading off to Vegas. They end up encountering the ghoul who's in a bad space because he pissed off.
Well, he
pissed off Lucy.
Well, because he basically gave Lucy up to Hank, which was his plan all along. He was keeping Lucy around because he knew Lucy would lead him to Hank. Hank would lead him to his family. And basically, Hank had made a deal with him. If you give me Lucy, I'll take you to your family. I'll give you your family back. And so, like, the ghoul is like a really cynical person.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, that was the plan all along. Yeah. But you can see as the plan is executing, as, like, he's betraying Lucy, you can see, like, the regret on his face. Like, he genuinely has regret about what he's doing at that point.
Well, that's the whole storyline between Lucy and the ghoul, is that Lucy's this, like, fresh-faced person. The ghoul, as we see in the flashbacks, is this very optimistic person who wants to be like a hero, who wants to do the right thing. And then you see the ghoul in the present, and he's very cynical and jaded. And he made a comment in, like, the first season, I think, to Lucy about, like, I'm you, just give it enough time or something,
Right.
Like, the wasteland will change you, It's like the idea, and instead it seems more like Lucy is changing a little bit, but it seems more like she's changing him more.
Yeah, exactly.
But the ghoul gets impaled. Lucy knocks him out of the window.
Yeah, the ghoul gets impaled. Yeah, that's where the super mutant comes in. And, at first, it seems like...
I thought it was a Deathclaw.
No.
Oh, no. At first. Not
no, because he was in Freeside. If a Deathclaw got into Freeside, that would have been catastrophic.
Well, that's what I was wondering, because he clipped the pole that Cooper was impaled in half like it was nothing.
Right.
And then I'm like, whoa. And you didn't really see him at first, the mutant. You just kind of, heard, his lumbering steps and stuff. And I was like, oh god, there's a Deathclaw. Me not having experience with Fallout, the games and stuff, I'm like, so the Deathclaws are sentient or something? Or at least some of them are? That's what I was thinking. A Deathclaw was dragging them off or something.
There are talking Deathclaws in Fallout 2.
Okay. Well, they haven't shown them in this season, but that's what I thought the mutant was at first. I thought oh, it's a Deathclaw, and for some reason it's abducting. Why? I wasn't quite getting it. And then you find out, oh no, he's this super mutant, and it's Ron Perlman, who's been kind of in all the games, hasn't he? Hasn't he been from the beginning?
Yeah. Oh yeah. He's a Fallout veteran. He does the classic narration.
The classic line
never changes. Yeah. Yeah, he does that. So to give Ron Perlman a cameo, and I think Ashur's Geneva Nordics said he'll have a bigger role next season.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to see him again.
Yeah. It's like I said, all these factions have a key cameo tied to them. The expansion of the Brotherhood of Wolf, well, basically all of the different chapters of the Brotherhood of Wolf had some key cameos. They're just not a lot of name actors. I mean, Kumail Nanjiani is, but then it's oh, it's that one vampire from Buffy the Vampire Slayer that was in the season 1.
Yeah.
It was kind of the muscle behind the master. He's one of them. And then the one of the girls that's she was in Thor Ragnarok. She was by Jeff Goldblum's side. So I'm they're recognizable people, character actors, but they're not name actors or something. Except Kumail Nanjiani. The Legion, you got Macaulay Culkin, is kind of the representation of the Legion that we get. The super mutants already, Ron Perlman. The Enclave in season 2, the president from before the Fallout, it's Clancy Brown, So you have all these kind of significant genre actors being representatives for all these different factions, which I think is kind of interesting. It gives you kind of they didn't just throw some random people there or overstack one group with too many people, they kind of evened it out a little bit. So you have these real kind of iconic people fitting these roles, which I thought was a clever way of doing it.
Yeah, a very clever way of doing it. Overall, I love the season. I thought it was so good. It was it captured the New Vegas vibes perfectly. At first, I was disappointed. They did a very clever fake out with the factions, because when you first meet the Legion, I love Macaulay Culkin.
Yeah.
Is one of the most important people in the Legion in this iteration. But when you meet them, they're kind of a dumbed down version of Legion, because they're in the middle of a civil war over the previous Caesar's corpse, which the previous Caesar was killed by the Courier. The Courier is your player character in Fallout New Vegas, by the way. So ever since you killed Caesar in Fallout New Vegas, they've been fighting over his corpse, because apparently he has a note about who his successor is.
Yeah, and his successor was nobody.
Yeah, his successor was nobody, which I love that. I love that because Macaulay Culkin's character Liggett is reading it, and immediately he decides, oh well, he's Caesar now then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's cool, because I'm I knew Macaulay Culkin was in the season. He did some press for it and stuff, and I was oh, that's exciting. And then he was in it for so little.
It was such a cameo, and I thought oh, is that all they're gonna do with the Legion? The ghoul saves Lucy from them, and he bombs them, and I guess that's it. And the same thing with the NCR. It's we know the NCR is basically gone from season 1, but man, it stings even more in this season, because you see 2 lone soldiers holding up the fort, and that's it. There's these 2 soldiers. It seems so hopeless. And that's why at the end when Maximus is defending Freeside from the Deathclaws and the NCR armor, and there's a lot of them, and he's fighting a losing battle, and then it gets to a point where his armor is so damaged he can no longer use it, and he gets out and he just has a roulette wheel for a shield and sword, and he's screwed. He's there's no way he's going to win, and then all of a sudden a full fleet of NCR soldiers comes out of nowhere and saves his ass. And it's such a fist pumping moment. It's somehow the NCR returned. and they're able to like fight off the Death Claws and save Freeside from the Death Claw invasion, which was like, that was like one of the biggest hero moments. And then like the Legion regroups under Macaulay Culkin's character, and they're marching to Vegas now. So it's like, throughout the season, it seemed like these two factions were basically dead, and now they're like revitalized. It's like, oh, they're important now.
I'm kind of sad that they kind of ruined a character in this season, a very minor character, but kind of almost like the mascot character of season 1 was the snake oil salesman.
Yes.
And now he's just like a brainwashed, like, robot.
He got brainwashed by Hank's brainwashing experiment.
He was such an interesting, just like agent of chaos that was just floating around. Yeah. And then now he's like, it's unfortunate. I hope they kind of like break that somehow or something.
And now at the end of season 2, like Hank's also brainwashed, which was a very, very difficult scene too, because it was Lucy had the device inside Hank and she had the button and she was threatening to use it, but Hank had his own button that he pressed, and it was very clear Lucy was never going to actually press that button.
Mm-hmm.
It was very clear that she was never going to actually do that.
Well, they made a point in that last episode about how she kept having to kill people that she didn't want to kill, and it's been happening since she killed somebody earlier and started like throwing up and stuff, had like a really hard time because she had killed some ghouls and it was like, oh, but they're just ghouls, and then she ended up killing somebody by accident and like had like a really bad reaction to it, and then she ends up killing this congresswoman who it was like a mercy kill, but it was still something that like weighed on her. She got the classic sci-fi kill me moment.
Yeah, well, she was basically dead. She was just a head at that point. She was what they were using to power for the personality for the mind control.
Yeah.
They're basically turning everybody into her.
And that's Martha Kelly is the actress. So I've seen her in a bunch of things. She's like kind of another small like character actor that you've probably seen in a million things but don't really know who she is. I mainly know her. She was in Baskets with Zach Galifianakis. That was the show where he was like a clown.
Yeah, yeah.
And she was one of the leads in that show. So it is nice to see her again, however briefly. As a rather kind of sad character who's just kind of mistreated through all the flashbacks and then is treated as a severed fucking head to be like, man, like they really did that character dirty. Anything else to say about Fallout Season 2?
Just the ending. Surprise Coop doesn't find his family at the end. He finds out they're in Colorado, and that's where he's headed. And I think, I'm not 100% sure, but I think the Enclave is also like based out of Colorado, but I'm not 100% on that.
So he's gonna go do some skiing and, like this was the desert season, so the next season will be the ski season, and then he'll be smoking legal weed.
Not sure what Maximus and Lucy are going to be doing. Presumably, I assume they're going to be sticking around to like help defend Vegas from the Legion.
You know who they should have do cameos in the next season? Because if they're going to go to Colorado,
who?
Matt and Trey from South Park.
Yeah, it's South Park. Yeah.
Wouldn't that be an awesome cameo?
That would be awesome.
Like be some like in some group that's in Colorado or something.
Right.
They could be some background scientist for the Enclave or something.
But yeah, that's it. Like for me, I don't know. This was 10 out of 10. I loved it. When I finished playing New Vegas for the first time, I imagined like what a live action version of that would be, like a show or something where you got like to see like all these factions being given like narratives and be given life. And this delivered on those fantasies.
We didn't even talk about the funniest moment in the whole season.
Oh, what was that?
Canadian!
Oh, yeah, we did talk about the vault. You had Norm's storyline, which basically he's out in the world and he's looking for Lucy now. And
he woke up the Vault-Tec executives that were supposed to do the whole, what do they call it? Like Liberation or Reclamation Day?
Yeah, Reclamation Day, yeah.
Yeah, he woke them all up so he could get out of a room.
And then they all turned against him, and then they ended up getting killed by like a gang of rad roaches.
Yeah.
So, whoops.
And then back in Vaults 32 and 33, Stephanie took over as she's the
overseer,
the one with the patch on the eye. That she lost her eye in the first episode or second episode or something of the first season. And she's like the overseer, and we got some background on her. Like she was like married to Lucy's dad, and
so she's basically an agent I don't know if she's like an agent of the Enclave, but she
didn't seem to know. She knew that there was something, but doesn't know even who they are.
Yeah, because she got that from Hank's briefcase.
Yeah, she made a comment about she's all, Hank said that you're always listening, so continue with phase 2, and it seems like she doesn't even know what that is.
But she was basically somebody. Well, she's from Canada, but she was basically before the war. She was somebody who was fleeing persecution. Her mother ends up getting killed, and she basically tells her to kill all Americans. So she goes into full survival mode, and she's been manipulating and positioning herself since to put herself in a position of advantage. I
love Flashback Hank.
Yes,
Flashback Hank. Just this low-level guy that's just kind of worming around. He just pop up in scenes, always looks overly excited to be there and stuff.
Yeah, really excited to be there, naive, gullible, doesn't seem to be aware of what's going on around him.
Mm-hmm.
Overseer Hank is a bit more aware of what's happening, but that version of Hank, not so much.
Yeah.
But yeah, she turns on the Pip-Boy, which belonged to Hank, which is connected to the Enclave, and she says, begin phase 2. Yeah. And then we see, the Enclave beginning phase 2.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever that is.
And then one last thing before we end the show. We need to talk. We've mentioned him, but we haven't really talked specifically about the performance. Robert Edwin House, as played by Justin Theroux.
Oh, yeah. I thought it was a good performance.
Oh, yeah. He's, spot on. He's just... He fits in so well in that kind of world. I could have seen him in any kind of retrofuturism kind of thing. I could have seen him in Fantastic Four, or anything he just kind of fits that role so well.
There's one funny thing. There's one funny reference at the end in the last episode when Mr. House is talking to Cooper,
mm-hmm.
or talking to the ghoul, I should say. And he mentions, he's it seems like all these random wanderers came in and tried to do all kinds of things to my body. I've been poisoned, stabbed, bludgeoned. And it's funny because that's all the ways that in New Vegas, the courier has killed Mr. House. If you choose to side with the other factions and kill Mr. House, those are the ways you can do it. So apparently all the ways the courier has killed Mr. House is now canon in the show.
There is an interesting thing at the end because he's being powered by that cold fusion core. He's brought back by the ghoul. But then when we see the ghoul's gone and we see Lucy and Maximus, and they're in that room, and you see the giant monitor where his face was, and it just says offline.
Yes.
So we never saw what happened to him, him being shut down or anything.
Oh, we see him come back online at the very end.
Yeah, there's a little flicker of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but there was nothing that showed, well, why is he offline? Why is it, showing that screen? What's the significance of that? I imagine that's gonna maybe come into play in season 3.
I think so, yeah.
But like I said, Justin Theroux, great job. Very interesting character. But that's it for Fallout Season 2, and that's it for this week's podcast. Stay tuned. Next week, we are going to be talking about Spartacus, House of Ashur. This is the follow-up to Spartacus, following a character who died in Spartacus. And you'll find out why it's a show that follows up Spartacus 16 years later with a character that is dead in that canon. We're going to get to that next week. So stay tuned for that. Until then, you can follow me on Twitter and Blue Sky. I'm at Tyson Gifford. You can follow Will on those platforms. He is at FoxelHero. You can check out our website, thetotallscreen.blogspot.com. If you open up a container story for any of our podcast episodes and scroll down to the bottom paragraph, you'll find all the relevant links to our SoundCloud page, our RSS feed, all that stuff's there, our YouTube channel, all that's there. You can also subscribe to our podcast to your favorite podcast kind of choice, like Apple Podcast or Pocket Cast, and the entire backlog of our podcast, the entire 300 episode run of our old podcast, and additional content is all available on our YouTube channel, so you can check that out as well. Thank you everybody for listening. Night. Thank you for listening to the OnScreen podcast, the official podcast of The Total Screen. Visit our website at thetotalscreen.com. This podcast can be found on any major podcast client, including Pocket Cast and Apple Podcast. The entire backlog of this podcast and other content can be found on our YouTube channel.